300,000 subscribers. Thank you all. This is my big thank you. I'm just without words. It is so cool. This is a major milestone. I really do tick off the big numbers and go, man, I hope I hit that milestone. I hit that milestone. So I know that you guys don't have to subscribe. You guys can just sit there and watch. And I know there's a lot of you that are watching that are not subscribing. Maybe you can't find the button, boomer. But thanks to you guys who, of course, watching is more important than subscribing. But subscribing, it really is. It helps us boost our confidence. It helps you come into the community and where you'll get more notifications and hopefully be more of a participant, because this is something we're trying to do, where I'm trying to attack the left, defend the right, and help get Trump elected to save the republic. Okay, that's my mission. And hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun in news entertainment along the way. Now we're going to go to Trump in Iowa, who is just destroying Iowa. I'm going to show you how this is really good news for our side, for the people that are trying to save America. Iowa is huge for Trump, and it defies where all the money is going. It defies even the scum in the Republican Party, in our own side, the people that are shifty, don't know, hate Trump because he farts, whatever. Oh, and welcome to Doug in Exile.
Trump here leading with evangelicals, obviously a very important part of the electorate. In Iowa, Trump lost by double digits with them back in 2016.
And I love getting my news from MSNBC, because when they're declaring Trump victories, guys, this is like big win in enemy territory. They're dying over there. Their cameraman is crying right now.
Haley has, as you were talking about there, she's got support now with independents. She was at 23 in our last poll. She's up to 33 here. But the bad news for Haley, again, talking about this from your conversation there, the favorable, unfavorable numbers here for Haley have changed, a lot from our last poll. You can just show you that 48-46. Look at this. In the last poll, it was 59-31. She's down 11 in favorable.
I have no interest in Nikki Haley, but what's happening to her is interesting to me, because she's where all of the mainstream Beltway, Washington, D.C. Republican billionaire money went to. They tacked away from Ron DeSantis, and they were never going to give a dime to Trump. Okay. They were originally behind Ron DeSantis. He blew through $200 million. His numbers didn't go up. So their final Hail Mary throw is to Nikki Haley. And Nikki Haley has a ton of Democrat billionaire support too, and independent. So these are never Trumpers. All of the never Trumper movement is going behind Nikki Haley. She's basically a Democrat running as a Republican. She is not a conservative. She does not have conservative values. She is a chameleon. She's wrong on almost every issue. When she went out and attacked Ron DeSantis, she attacked him from his left. When she attacks Donald Trump, she attacks him from his left. So this is a political apparatchik that we've seen that we want to run far away from. She can't get second in Iowa. We have to make sure she gets third. That's today. We'll get into the caucuses of what Iowa is today, but it is the single most important Trump news right now is happening in Iowa, and it's when he's going to destroy the competition in today's primary vote.
You just look at her supporters, more than 3/4 of them have a negative view of Donald Trump. We've seen this with, Chris Christie, with Mike Pence. The more you get identified with anti-Trump voters, I think the more that pro-Trump Republican voters perhaps start to turn on you.
This is where we, the people, are winning against money, against big media. If you go to any of these big tech sites, and I go to all of them, I visit all the news sites, there's giant banners, giant ad buys for Nikki Haley from the Republican Party. There's this weird trick about Donald Trump where a lot of the Beltway, a lot of the Republicans in Washington, D.C. said they're not attacking Trump enough. DeSantis and Nikki Haley are not differentiating themselves enough from Trump, so they have to attack him. Well, then they say, fine, we'll attack him. We'll differentiate ourselves and see if our numbers go up. And then what happens is all the Trump Republicans go, no, I might like Nikki Haley or I might like Ron DeSantis, but you don't attack that guy. He's not the target. He's not the problem. Biden is the problem. And then suddenly Nikki Haley's negatives go through the roof. That's the biggest change in the last couple of weeks, is as she stepped up her attacks on Trump and DeSantis, her numbers have crashed, meaning we the people are winning and the big money and big media, the giant Leviathan conglomerate that are against the people, are losing. That's huge.
But back in 2000, the last candidate to have numbers anything like Donald Trump's on the eve of the Iowa caucuses, Republican caucuses, was George W. Bush in 2000. Trump just broke his record for the highest share in the final poll.
So Trump's instincts are amazing. He's got a gut that just works all the time. And I can't explain it. I don't understand it. But his gut, for being a guy who I think is largely not super smart, not super clever or anything, his street smarts and his wisdom of kind of big picture, how to carry yourself in a room. He's a dominant, amazing leader. And so he's breaking records in Iowa right now in the polls that we haven't seen since George Bush won in 2000. And you'll see some of the difference here. It's the evangelical voters are a big block of it. That before, they would not go for Trump in 2016. Remember, they picked Ted Cruz, I believe, in 2016. And now they're overwhelmingly shirking off someone who I think is a more mainstream conservative, a more pleasant conservative would be Ron DeSantis. And he's getting demolished because now the evangelicals have seen this 4 years with Biden and said, we can't risk it. They're terrified. I'll tell you that as a evangelical. You're not going to mess around with middle ground when the chips are down and when America's at stake. You will naturally go to the easier, bigger guy who's going to punch the enemy out, and that's Trump. Now, let's watch the ground game with Fox News going to people doing their informal surveys in Iowa.
When you caucus today, who will be supporting Nikki Haley in here? Nikki Haley supporters. Okay, Nikki Haley. Vivek Ramaswamy. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3. All right, Ron DeSantis supporters here. And who plans on supporting former President Donald Trump? As I always say, the polls are the polls. You never know what the polls are going to be. But when the polls are consistent from what we hear on the day-to-day basis with our diners, despite what some presidential candidates may say, we go with what we hear from the people.
He's doing a small dig at Vivek Ramaswamy, who's saying, the polls, he has an in at Iowa at the polls, and no, he doesn't. So this Fox News guy just went to the streets of Iowa. Trump is clearly going to dominate and win today. That's going to help hopefully push a Ron DeSantis or a Nikki Haley out, and maybe even a Vivek Ramaswamy. Their donors do not want them to waste money on advertising if they're not going to be the candidate. They're going to start going, well, we tried on a ground game in Iowa and it didn't work. Now let's go to those legendary numbers again that Trump is pulling.
Put this Trump lead in some perspective here. First of all, the 48% that he's registering here, that is the highest share for a Republican candidate in a final Des Moines Register poll ever. That surpasses the record of 43% from George W. Bush on the eve of the 2000 caucuses. Bush won those caucuses. Also the margin, Trump 48, Haley 20. That's a 28-point margin. That is also the biggest margin in a final Register poll, also breaking a record of George W. Bush of 23 points when he won the caucuses in 2000. So that Trump lead, we haven't seen that before, but we've been seeing a lot in the polling this year.
Trump just set a new poll record in Iowa, and that tells the Beltway. Remember, the Beltway just says, look, Nikki Haley is shown in the general to beat Trump. They're wrong about everything, of course. It may look like that now, but as Trump gains momentum, the independents will go from Nikki Haley to Trump. But right now, a lot of the independents and all the anti-Trumpers are spreading their votes across these other candidates. And, what do? when he's the only guy available on the ticket, how many of them will come to him is the only math equation that matters, and he's going to win. Here's Trump shutting down an environmentalist, and I want you to notice he's wearing a white hat. He's the white hat hero coming to save America. That's good branding.
Thank you. That's all right. Go home to mommy. Your mommy's waiting. Go home to mommy.
Go home to mommy, environmentalist. That's how you handle the crowd. I'm Doug in Exile.